All right, what's going on, everyone? The Philadelphia Flyers have made plenty of unexpected moves under general manager Danny Brière, but few have arrived as quietly or as intriguingly as the announcement that defenseman Roman Schmidt has been acquired from the Tampa Bay Lightning in exchange for Ethan Samson. The news came directly from the Flyers' official release, confirming that Schmidt would be reporting to the Lehigh Valley Phantoms. It's the kind of deal that doesn't send shockwaves through the NHL, but it does raise eyebrows among fans who track prospect development and long-term organizational planning. So why make this move now? What does Schmidt bring that the Flyers felt they needed more than Samson? And how might this shift the future blue line competition within the organization? Before we dive into the scouting notes, the upside, the risk, and the fit, we need to paint the full picture of who Roman Schmidt is, where he came from, and why the Flyers front office believes he's worth investing in. At first glance, the measurable details jump off the page. 6'5", 225 pounds, right-handed, and a frame built for heavy, punishing defensive hockey. The Flyers have no shortage of defensive prospects, but they have been quietly lacking this style of big, rugged defender in the AHL pipeline, and Schmidt checks that box with authority. It's not just size, though. It's experience. Despite being only 22, Schmidt has logged 3 partial AHL seasons with Syracuse, Tampa Bay's affiliate. While Schmidt's scoring totals don't leap off the page, 3 goals, 7 points in 63 games, what does stand out is the 117 penalty minutes, a strong indicator that Schmidt plays an aggressive, physical game. This season alone, he led the Crunch with 38 penalty minutes in just 13 games. The Flyers release highlighted that he also set a career high last season with 5 points and a +7 rating. That stat hints at true developmental momentum, something the Flyers believe they can harness and accelerate. Now factor in his OHL resume, including time with the Kitchener Rangers and Kingston Frontenacs. Schmidt has been groomed in systems that demand responsibility, structure, and hard-nosed play. Next, we'll break down exactly why Schmidt's profile might fit the Flyers' evolving defensive identity and why Samson became the odd man out. If you follow the Brière-Jones regime closely, you already know that there's a clear theme to the players they're targeting: size, compete level, and developmental runway. And Roman Schmidt checks every one of those boxes, but there's a deeper strategic layer to this acquisition. First off, the Flyers have been quietly stockpiling right-shot defensemen who can play a heavier brand of hockey. While the Flyers might have heavier players on the left side, the right side depth has leaned smaller and more finesse-driven. Schmidt's arrival disrupts that trend in a meaningful way. Second, Schmidt's physicality isn't random. He led Syracuse in penalty minutes this season, which tells you he's not shy about mixing it up. But more importantly, Schmidt's penalty minutes don't come from reckless play. They come from engagement. He's not drifting around the perimeter. He's battling. He's pushing back. He's contesting space. And that's what the Flyers want. And thirdly, there's upside that hasn't been tapped yet. Tampa drafted Schmidt 96th overall with the belief that his size, reach, and defensive instincts could translate into an NHL shutdown role. And while his offensive numbers are modest, he has shown flashes, including last year when he set a career high in points and even chipped in with a shorthanded goal. Flyers don't need Schmidt to be a point producer. They need him to be a tone setter. And here's the biggest key. Schmidt is still early in his development arc. Big defensemen historically take longer to grow into their physical tools. At 22, he's nowhere close to a finished product. But that's where the Flyers see opportunity and why they felt comfortable moving Samson in the exchange. Next, we're going to unpack that piece of the puzzle. Ethan Samson wasn't a failed prospect, nor was he someone the Flyers were eager to discard. If anything, Samson had become a steady presence for the Phantoms, logging 142 AHL games, 15 goals, and a total of 40 points. He was a dependable organizational piece. So why move him? The reason's simple: organizational redundancy. The Flyers have an influx of puck-moving transitional defensemen across both leagues, with Oliver Bonk developing, Emile Andre progressing into the NHL roster, and a pipeline filled with mobility-first players. Samson became the type of prospect who could get squeezed out. Schmidt, meanwhile, offers a style that the Flyers lack on the right side. This trade fills a hole rather than swapping like for like. While many fans will frame this deal as a simple swap of depth defensemen, Ethan Samson deserves recognition for what he brought to the organization. Quietly, he became a dependable and durable piece of the Phantoms' blue line, appearing in 142 games, a significant number for a 22-year-old defenseman. Samson was never flashy, but he was intelligent. His reads were strong, his breakouts were clean, and he had real offensive instincts, especially on the second power play unit. His 40 points in those 142 games show a player who contributed steadily even when not in the spotlight. What made Samson valuable was his predictability. Coaches trusted him. His minutes were earned. He didn't wow you with end-to-end rushes, but he also didn't sabotage momentum with risky decisions. He had become a modern-style puck mover, smooth, stable, and smart. So why move on? The Flyers had reached an inflection point. Samson's development path was becoming clear, and while he was trending toward a solid AHL career with possible NHL call-up potential, the organization likely believed his ceiling had narrowed. With young prospect defensemen jockeying for position, Samson's path to the Flyers roster had become congested. The Lightning, however, presented a different situation. Samson could easily become a more prominent piece in Tampa's system, where his strengths, puck distribution, mobility, intelligence fit seamlessly with their style. For him, this may be a better opportunity. From the Flyers' perspective, though, the trade signals something else: a desire to diversify the defensive pipeline. Samson and Schmidt are roughly the same age, but their skill sets are dramatically different. Philadelphia opted for size, edge, and a shutdown profile over finesse and transition play. Losing Samson is losing stability, but gaining Schmidt is gaining identity. But let's talk a little bit more about what the Flyers are getting in Schmidt. When players arrive in the AHL, the transition isn't just about systems or speed, it's about identity and how you impact the game when you're not scoring. When you show coaching staffs there's something about your presence that changes the bench, Roman Schmidt brings that edge naturally, and that's one of the biggest reasons the Flyers made this move. Schmidt is a presence before he even touches the puck, and for the Phantoms who've relied heavily on structure, effort, and tempo, adding that type of physical anchor alters the defensive dynamics. Not only is Schmidt strong along the wall, he's imposing in front of the net, something that's been a point of emphasis for the Flyers development staff over the last 2 seasons. This is a player who plays loud. Even when he's not throwing a massive hit, he's using his reach to disrupt passing lanes. He's pinning guys in corners. He's making life miserable for forwards who want to get to the blue paint. Yeah, the penalty minutes are part of the story too. Leading Syracuse with 38 penalty minutes in just 13 games is no small feat, but it's why those minutes exist that matters. He plays hard, not out of control. Last season, Schmidt posted a career high with a +7 rating, suggesting that while he brings a punishing style, he's not a defensive liability. That's the untold part of his game. Despite his size, he moves better than expected, manages his gaps effectively, and has grown more confident with the puck. His 5 points last year, including that shorthanded goal that we mentioned earlier, show that he's not just a defensive stopper. He understands situational play, reads pressure well, and can make the safe, reliable outlet pass. What this means for the Phantoms is simple. It's matchups. Schmidt gives the ability to roll out a defender who can handle the AHL's bigger, older forwards while freeing up puck movers to play their natural game. It's a stylistic complement that the team needed. And in an organization where prospects are evaluated heavily on versatility and consistency, Schmidt's ability to fit the physical battle instantly raises his stock. For many prospects, the AHL is a checkpoint. For Roman Schmidt, it's a test, one that will determine whether he becomes a depth call-up, an everyday NHL defenseman, or something in between. Flyers didn't acquire him as a finished product. They acquired him because his ceiling remains open. So what does Schmidt need to do? First, tighten his defensive predictability. Big defensemen usually reach the NHL when they become mistake-free players. That means efficient exits, consistent gap control, and good reads under pressure. Schmidt has the tools, but the Flyers are going to want to see nightly sharpness at the AHL level. His size makes up for a lot, but NHL forwards punish inconsistency. Second, he's going to need to improve his puck confidence. Flyers aren't looking for offense from Schmidt, but they are looking for reliability. A simple 10-foot pass, a quick shoulder check, the ability to take a hit and still move the puck. These are things that the development staff focuses on obsessively. Tampa Bay saw the potential, but Philadelphia believes that they can polish it. Third, discipline. While his penalty minutes show that he's engaged, the Flyers are going to want to pick his spots. Physicality without recklessness is valued. If Schmidt can reduce unnecessary minors without losing his edge, he becomes far more valuable at the next level. And fourth, embracing his identity. Some prospects try to be everything at once. Schmidt's path will be about mastering his role, a shutdown, hard to play against, penalty-killing defender. Flyers have room for that type of player in the long-term blueprint, especially with the organizational shift toward heavier play at the back end. And finally, timing. The Flyers play the long game with defensemen. Schmidt doesn't need to be rushed. He needs to build a 2-year body of work that shows he's sustainable, dependable, and specialized. The tools are there. The opportunity is there. The question becomes whether Schmidt can elevate his game in Lehigh Valley and make himself impossible to ignore. So why did this trade happen now? Well, timing in hockey is rarely random. Teams make trades at specific moments because there's a window for need. For the Flyers and Lightning, this particular swap lands in December for several reasons. And understanding the timing gives deeper insight into organizational strategy. First off, Lehigh Valley's defensive needs. The Phantoms have been battling injuries, inconsistencies, and growing pains that come with relying on young defenders in heavy minutes. Adding Schmidt gives them an immediate physical presence during a tough stretch of road games and right before a demanding homestand. Second, it's opportunity for Samson. Tampa Bay's AHL affiliate, the Syracuse Crunch, had room for a puck-moving defenseman who could play more minutes than Samson was getting in Lehigh Valley. Making the move earlier in the season allows Samson to settle into a new system and potentially elevate his role. Next, we have Schmidt's runway. The Flyers clearly wanted Schmidt working with their development staff now, not later. The organization's bullish on the Phantoms' coaching infrastructure, and if you believe a prospect's progress can accelerate under your guidance, waiting 6 months makes no sense. And finally, familiarity and scouting. Schmidt was drafted in the same year that Ethan Samson was drafted. Both players have 3 years of AHL exposure. This is the point where scouts start making firmer evaluations on who is developing upward and who is plateauing. Flyers' internal read was clear. Schmidt offers a dimension that they needed more than what Samson provided. So the timing isn't coincidental, it's calculated. It positions both players for success while aligning with the direction each franchise wants to go. So what does this trade say about the Flyers' future? Well, hockey trades between prospects don't always get headlines, but they often reveal a franchise's direction. And this move does exactly that. By acquiring Roman Schmidt, the Flyers signaled that they're committed to balance, not just relying on puck movers, but blending them with size and force. They showed they're willing to take calculated swings on players who fit their identity, not just players who put up numbers. It also shows trust in the Phantoms' development system. The Flyers believe they can extract more out of Schmidt than Tampa did, and that's the hallmark of a rebuilding franchise with a long-term vision. As for Samson, the Flyers didn't give up on him. They gave him a chance to grow elsewhere, recognizing that their depth chart, not his talent, was the obstacle. This trade won't dominate nightly NHL highlights, but it will influence the Flyers' defensive pipeline. It positions Schmidt as a potential future shutdown defender, and it reshapes the Phantoms' blue line. And it reinforces one truth about the Brière era. Every move has a purpose. Every prospect has a role, and the Flyers are building a defensive identity that's bigger, stronger, and harder to play against. Roman Schmidt, well, he's the newest piece of that puzzle, and his journey in orange and black is just getting started. If you enjoyed this breakdown of this trade, do me a favor. Please like and subscribe. Our like goal for the episode is 50 likes. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do me the favor. Give us a subscribe. In the meantime, don't forget to keep it high, keep it wide, and I'll see you guys next time on HW Hockey.
Thanks for watching HW Hockey. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you next time.